All right, Mike, a lot of news in the sport.
Yes.
Just so much news, and we want to get to all of it as much as we can. All-Star race has been moved to Bristol.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's such a great thing because we've really been talking about this for a long time. This is this is a product of what's going on in the world with the COVID virus, but it's been years since they've talked about whether we should move that All-Star race, and here we are. It's being moved. This is a real opportunity for all of us to really find out if this is the right move to begin with. And I believe it'll be an exciting race. Bristol already was an exciting race this year. We saw drivers just to win that race willing to do, Chase Elliott goes down in the corner and cleans himself and Joe Logano out trying to win the race.
Mm-hmm.
If that's what they're willing to do for a trophy, for some playoff points, what will they be willing to do to win the All-Star race, which pays
Handsomely.
Yeah. All right, so I think, and there's no points. If you finish last, it's not a detriment to your season. So it's win or nothing at all, right? I like it. I'm excited about that. I don't think that there really needs to be a ton of discussion on that. I think we're all in agreement that we can't wait to see the All-Star race at Bristol, right?
We've been wanting it for years.
Fans.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the biggest part.
And it's as serious as the pandemic is, we gotta just say what everybody's thinking. It has sort of handed us a lot of things we've been kind of wanting for a long time, including weekday races, All-Star race at Bristol.
There's
as
nothing wrong with
awful as it is,
Yeah.
it has actually delivered some things for some race fans. And hey, we'll take it.
Yeah,
won't
we will.
We'll take it with a smile.
All right, at the All-Star race, there's going to be an experiment that NASCAR is going to try. At least that's what we're hearing. They're going to move the numbers on the race car. Now, I've heard different stories on where exactly the number's going to go.
Right.
All right? Initially out of the gate, who's
Adam Stern.
Adam Stern tweets that they're going to put the number on the quarter panel behind the tire.
Yeah.
I believe he said so in his initial tweet.
Yeah.
That, to me, that is a very unpopular position for the number to be, judging by what I'm seeing in reaction.
Where? On
social media,
Okay.
or let's just say in general.
Okay.
You can go anywhere and find an unpopular reaction to that.
rear quarter panel.
Yes. Now, immediately after he says that, Jeff Gluck and a few other people circulated a mock-up that I had seen and tweeted about myself in the past, where NASCAR is actually thinking of not moving the number all the way to the quarter panel, but just sliding it back right in front of the rear tire and allowing the sponsor to be on the door, but also the number as well. So there'll be a sponsor in front of the number. That, to me, is a great compromise if NASCAR wants to create an opportunity to have better signage, better sponsor visibility on that location on the side of the car. Having the number slid back instead of going all the way to the quarter panel, which we've seen done before.
I mean, look, it's kind of like on this diecast right here at our table.
Exactly. So that to me is an incredible compromise to the crowd of people like myself that say, needs to stay on the door. That's how that's how I recognize all these cars on my table right here. That's how I don't look at the sponsor and go, oh yeah, Mike Curb, that's a cool Dale Earnhardt car. Oh, fiddle faddle. Oh yeah. No, it's number 2, 34. So now if you look at dirt cars, dirt cars, my late model stock car that I ran, cars all through the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, even today in present day, World Outlaw dirt cars and so forth. That the number slid back to accommodate a great area for a primary sponsor to be on the door is not a new idea, right? And I like it. I feel like it's kind of an old school, cool way to do it. So I'll be honest, I can get down with this. I will say though, if they make the numbers smaller, I am not a fan of that.
There'll be hell to pay.
I will say this. I had a conversation after a tweet thing last
Yes.
night with a sponsor that didn't want to show this, but they sent me, and I'll share it with you.
Yeah, I see it. Now, I got this same picture earlier today.
Okay. So here's what I'm going to say. Some of the teams are going to have to shrink the number because from the A post to the beginning of the A post there,
This
where
is
the contention.
speculation, man.
Hold on.
I know the RTA owns that space.
RTA
That's
owns that space.
speculation. That is not coming from until I see. I got that same
Then
story.
I've also heard that from.
Well,
All right.
Finish your thought at least, so I can understand what you're saying.
just
You're
wanna-
saying that there
Well, you
in
look
some
at the
cases.
GroupMe.
So, but you're saying in some cases the number will have to shrink.
The number's
going to
have to shrink because the sponsor's going to be pretty much right under the window net, and it's not going to leave as much room for the number.
So this is what I don't understand. All right, and I don't want to. I hate to get into this because this is speculation, and basically, it's a picture of a race car, where the sponsor of the car is where the number is currently, not slid forward, because the RTA owns that space where the contingencies used to be. Mm-hmm. And so, therefore, there's not room on the door for the number as the number currently is, and it's made smaller to fit into that space. So, I don't like that. I don't want you to make the number smaller. That's how I recognize Martin Truex Jr. or any of the other drivers on the track is by their number, and that's their brand. You know, the sponsors on these cars change every single week. So I don't follow a driver by the brand, by the sponsor or the color of his car, because that's literally impossible to do.
especially if it's changing every week.
Right. That's my point. So
we all agree.
this is what I don't understand. And I hate, this is still speculative, because until this is what I see on the racetrack, then we can really have this conversation. Why would the RTA and NASCAR not, it's almost like they're battling over the space on these cars where, okay, if Bass Pro Shops is going to go on the door because it's a better location and it gives it a lot more visibility, that would be a great thing for, I would assume that the RTA would be for that.
Yeah, the
as
owners.
NASCAR is as well. I mean, I don't know if NASCAR really, I think the owners would even prefer it more than the NASCAR would. It'd be even better for the owners to say, hey, we're trying to give them all the exposure we can. This is a great thing to be able to say to our sponsors, look what we're doing.
Right.
We're putting your name on the side of the car. Why would they still hoard that
Contingency space.
contingency space on the fender?
Where all the little stickers would go once.
This is
at
good.
One time.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
It don't make sense.
So his point is that you can't.
We're
take
hoping
that
that's
to the bank.
speculation.
I'm not taking that to the bank.
Right.
So I'm going to say that, this is a mock-up. Obviously, it looks official, but yeah, we'll see if that's what they end up doing. And if they do, I'm going to say that's a shame that the RTA and NASCAR didn't come together and say, hey, let's work together and get this decal where it belongs so that the number can stay as its current size that it is today. And, and everybody's happy, and look at that space on this car. I mean, the RTA is trying to value that space, that contingency space. And I understand that they would love to sell it, but now what? If you do sell it, you're going to have all kinds of, it's going to look awful. It's going to look horrible to do that. That's why I didn't really want to get down into that. I got that picture earlier today, Matthew, and I was like, man, I'm not even going to go there because I don't even know if that's really what's happening.
Well, I mean, the graphic that you guys reacted to on social media
It's pretty
Doesn't
close.
look
goes
that
right
way.
into that
Yes.
space. I mean,
Right.
that's Sunoco mock-up.
Yep.
Yeah, that space is accounted for.
Yeah, and that gave me hope that that's exactly how this is going to play out. The Jeff Gluck tweet
Yep.
is how I hope it works out.
Now-
and it is only for the All-Star race, just to be clear for
Yeah, for
everybody
now.
that's listening. For now,
No, but
it's an
that's the thing.
experiment.
Yeah, hey,
Yeah.
That's true, but we need to get ahead of this if we don't like it. We can't let them. We can't. I'm not gonna. If I'm not a big fan of what's going on here, it's an experiment. Next thing you know, they're gonna go, "Hey man, we liked it. We're doing it."
Yeah.
So if you don't like it, you need to speak up, because I would say this: NASCAR listens to their fans, and if fans say no, they typically listen to that.
that's a great point to make, because I don't know if you guys noticed Steve O'Donnell's responses to some of the reactions to it. I had a couple thoughts on that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. In fact, Leah, why don't you pull it up?
It's pretty good.
Because it's pretty good. And it's a point that I would like to even make, and I'll let Steve make it for us, because, people just by default in this space of social media, and particularly Twitter, it's just natural for people to lose their minds over something that is trivial, right? It's something that shouldn't matter. And like my position on this thing is, I don't care, right? I just don't care. You care. I get it. You care.
Yeah. I care how my race cars look.
And I would also listen. I would also say, if anybody is listening to this and really wants to know Dale Jr.'s point on that, go back to probably 5-10 episodes of this podcast, and we go a long time about why Dale Jr. is so adamant about wanting that number big. And it all boils down to the identity of the car, identity of the driver, and the identity of the sport. But we also have a long discussion about that. You can go check that out.
You brought up the brand.
The brand. What is it that you want people to know and identify with? And that number has been, chasing the number 9. The Elliott's in the number 9. Why is Chase number 9? Well, it's because it was his dad's number.
Yeah.
That was an identity. So, Leah, do you have it?
Yeah, I have one up. Somebody responded and said, "It looks like Steve." But anyways, have a great night. And he quote tweeted, said, "Thank you. One for the poop emoji."
Well, somebody was complaining, and he said, "Listen, guys, it was like, if we don't like it, we'll go back. It's an experiment. Everybody, keep their cool about this."
Yeah, I just don't. I get that, and I appreciate that, and I go back and forth with Steve on a lot of things that and he's a guy that listens and appreciates your opinion, but he's got his own opinions as well.
Yeah,
and I just think that this is something that obviously this is a aesthetic or even a competition thing that just not a lot of people are going to really like, and I already kind of know that. Like, why do we gotta touch the stove and burn ourselves to learn that something we already know? It's hot.
Right, but I also think that are you talking about just any change in general?
No, change.
This particular change. But you're on board with the one that you said Gluck tweeted.
It's a great compromise.
What I would tell you is that when I first saw it, it looked funky. But I also know that anything that looks different on the first glance looks funky. The way a bad haircut looks funky, but a day later it's not even in your mind. You're not even thinking about it. And I think that this would probably be no different.
Well, that would be true. That would be true, Mike, but we've seen other series do this. The ASA series did it a decade ago. When was that? A long time ago. It looked awful, and the series, not because of this, but the series closed the next year.
Yeah. Well, what did they do, just so we know?
They moved the number to the quarter panel.
And did they shrink it?
No.
No, it was on the quarter panel, and then there was some that was in front of it, but yeah.
The K&N series has done this for the last few years. Not in love with it. Don't like it. Even after a couple years, still can't look at it and go, yeah, that's a cool-looking paint scheme.
Look at those cars right there. The 15, the 11, the 3. They all look freaking cool.
Yeah. Sliding it back to the tire is great, but if you're going to squeeze it into this tiny little space, and it just, like you say, it's an identity that I and a lot of people, I think, use to understand who's in what car is what. They change. Now, I mean, years ago, if I was going to drive a red Bud car every week, you could put the number anywhere. Mm-hmm. Fine. Mm-hmm. You're going to know when you look out on the racetrack, you're going to see that red Bud car and know exactly who that is. Mm. Yep. But today's world, where everybody's in a different colored car every single week, if you don't have that number front and center, right in plain view, I am not going to be able to tell who is what.
Yeah.
No chance.
I cannot dispute that. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Can't
dispute it.
Just like when we lost brand identity on the cars themselves, like, boy, that's a Chevy. I can tell because just by a glance, I know that's a Chevy and I know that's a Ford. When we lost that with the COT, I'm afraid of the same thing happening.
Mm. Yeah.
So we got to be careful. It's for, like you say though, just for the All-Star race. So we'll see how that goes, and I know which way I'm hoping.
And now everybody else does too. But no, I think your points are valid.
Thank you, Mike.